So today's assignment is you're going to be graphing lines again, but there's a little twist to it. So we're going to graph lines again. Y equals mx plus b. I know you've seen this before many times. Miss Medvick, Miss Houghton, not Mr. Houghton, Miss Houghton. The b is where you put your first dot. You put your first dot on the y-axis. There's not a teacher in this building that's a math teacher that told you to put your first dot on the x-axis when you graph. You always put your first dot on the y-axis, right? And then you make another dot later, but here we go. So, you're going to put your first dot on 4, on the y-axis. Some of you, this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, make a dot. On the y-axis, put 4. The slope, I think you guys know that the slope is a fraction. It's a rise over run. I know you've heard of rise over run or the slope. What you need to do is put this over 1 so that you always have a fraction when you're doing the slope. And we have to get another point on here to connect the dots. So from this dot, -2, that means rise up or down, and since it's a -2, I'm going to go down 2, and the 1 is a positive, so I'm going to go to the right. So I'm going to go down 2 and to the right 1, down 2 and to the right 1, and that's all I need is about 2, 3 dots to make my line. So far so good? Okay, now comes the twist. If the inequality is less than or greater than, you're going to use a dotted line and use your notes for the test. If there's lines underneath them, you're going to use a solid line. So write this down. If the inequality does not have a line underneath it, you're going to make your line a dotted line. There is no line underneath it, so you're going to connect your dots by making a dotted line instead. If there's a line underneath it, it's a solid line. Is it difficult so far, you guys? Graphing one line, putting in a dotted line or a solid line. Do you guys remember chapter 1 when you guys did inequalities like this? You had to shade to the right or to the left. Do you guys remember doing this in chapter 1? Well, you also have to either shade on this side of the line or on this side of the line. So you have to shade today. And this is the easiest way to shade. This is what I do when I shade. I cancel out this part of the problem completely. I know that this dot right here is at 4. Whoops. Why is it moving? Oh my, where is it, right? Okay, I know that that's a 4, and I know that on the y-axis this is 3, this is 2, the origin is 0, and I know that these numbers on the y-axis are 5 and 6, and so on, right? Y needs to be greater than, that's a greater than sign, y needs to be greater than, and I took that part out, so y needs to be greater than 4. What numbers are greater than 4? Are these numbers down here greater than 4, or are these numbers up here on the y-axis greater than 4? Isn't it those numbers over there? So you're going to shade that side of the line. You shade that side of the line and not the other side of the line. And we're going to do more. We're not going to just end with one problem. We're going to do 2 more like this. And that's it for the first part of the assignment. So let's do another one. Let's go to this page. We're going to do 3 of these. On the y-axis, you're going to put a dot on 3. Because that's +3, it's the number alone. So far so good? Does everybody see that there's an imaginary 1 out in front for the slope? But put it 1 over 1 so that you can do rise over run. You're going to rise 1. You're going to rise 1, and you're going to go to the right 1 because that's a positive 1. So you only need 2 dots. So far so good? there's a line underneath the inequality, so it's going to be a solid line and not a dotted line. So make a solid line going through those two dots. Now I have to either shade on the test, either on this side or on this side. And the easiest way to do this is to get rid of this. And this is the y-axis, this is the number 3, this is 1, this is 0, down here is a -2 on the y-axis, this number's 4, this number's 5, and so on, right? Y needs to be greater than or equal to 3. Is these numbers greater than or equal to 3, or are these numbers greater than or equal to 3? These numbers on this side are greater than or equal to 3. So I shade. It's just a quick little blurb on this side to show me that you shaded that side. Some of you, you don't have to sit there and do this the whole time. You don't have to sit there and do that. That's just make a quick little scribble on whichever side you think it's on. I'm going to change this one to y plus 4 instead, you guys, so make it y plus 4. There's some on the worksheet that look like this. You cannot start graphing until you get y alone, right? You need to get y alone in this problem. Y is less than x. In order to get y alone, I switched the problem just because we haven't had a negative one yet. I'm going to subtract 4 to both sides. So y is less than x minus 4. I switched it because we've had them all above the x-axis and I wanted this one to go below. This is called the y-intercept. You always start graphing a line with the y-intercept, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Right down here is y is less than x minus 4. Again, there's an imaginary 1 out in front of the x. You're going to go up 1 and to the right 1. Up 1 and to the right 1. Up 1 and to the right 1. The inequality does not have a line underneath it, so you're going to make a dotted line. You're going to make a dotted line because it does not have a line underneath it. And that's why when you take the test, you should write this stuff down so that you can remember, oh, that's right, she told us that if there's no line underneath it, it's a dotted line, so you can remember this for the test. So, we either have to shade this side or this side, and I know that this is a -4. I know this number's 0, I know this is 2, this is 4, and so on, and this down here is -5, and so on the y-axis. Y needs to be less than a -4, right? Y needs to be, I like getting rid of this. Y needs to be less than a -4. Numbers less than a -4 are not 0, 2, and 4. These numbers are less than a -4, right? Done. And that's the first part of the assignment, which I don't think is too difficult. And I think we took some problems off yesterday, didn't we?
Yes.
I have to just remember which ones we took off, but I'll kind of remember. The second part of the assignment is this new thing that I added. And make a graph paper. I'll wait for you to make it. I will be done with notes in the next 3-4 minutes. So. He's cutting from the first page and pasting the graph. Very smart. Okay, anything, yeah, I don't know how to run everything, so whatever floats your boat, perfect. Okay, we're moving on here. Okay, this is good review from 2.7. Remember how we translated something left, right, up, down? Remember doing that? Well, instead of making a line in the second part, you're not making a line. There's absolute values in this problem. You are not making lines, you are making V's, if you guys remember this from 2.7. You're gonna make a V. Do you remember if the -2 is inside of here, it moves side to side? You guys remember this from 2.7? Good review. And if it's a negative, it's gonna move it to the right or to the left if it's inside and it's negative. To the right 2. And this number's outside, so it's gonna move it up 3. So move it right 2 and up 3 from 0, 0. Right 2 and up 3. There's my new vertex for my V. So far, so good? Okay, here we go again. You might want to write some notes down again. If it's less than or greater than sign, it's going to be a dotted V. Instead of a dotted line, it's dotted. And if there are lines underneath them, you're going to make a solid V on the test. Just like you did dotted and solid lines on the last. And this is definitely going to be a dotted V because there's no line underneath it. So just make yourself a dotted V. And now you either have to shade. If it's less than, you're going to shade below the V. If it's less than, you're going to shade below. If it's greater than, you're going to shade above. Isn't that below it? Because it's less than, so it's just shade below it. And that's it. So let's do one more, a little bit faster. It sure beats plotting points, this quick little method. Again, you know you're making a V because of the absolute value. A positive one inside means it goes side to side, and since it's a positive one, we're going to go to the left one and up one. Left one and up one. Left one and up one. Right here is my new vertex, because you always start at 0, 0. It's a solid V because of the line underneath it. So just make a solid V. You don't flip them on this assignment. You don't make them wider on this assignment. The only thing you do is shift them on this assignment. Y is greater than means you shade above it. If it was less than, you would shade down here, but here, this is above it. So just shade above it, because that's greater than. And that's it for the assignment. Got it? I'm going to turn off my recorder.